Okay guys, now we're on To-Do App Part 2. We're going to be learning about persistent storage in this video. So now here we have it open, and last time I said that we were going to change our dictionary to arrays, and we did that in the last video, but I'm actually going to change them into an array, and we're going to make it a global variable. So I'm going to do var date space equals, and I'm going to do square brackets string, and then parentheses, and var to do item space equals, same thing, square bracket string and parentheses. So now we have two empty arrays, and I'm going to go ahead and delete these guys, and let's see here, I'm going to go over to our view controller 2, and let's see here, I'm going to delete our for loop, we don't need that anymore, and this whole row. I'm going to do date dot append because we're adding to the end of that array, and I'm going to say date in dot text. So now it's going to append that item every time we hit submit. A little bit cleaner than those dictionaries. To do item dot append and to do in dot text. Cool. So now let's go back over to our other view controller, and I accidentally didn't capitalize my I, just had to check on that real quick. And what we're going to do is we're going to change the return in our table view function to date, which is now our new string, and we should have the same amount of that in items, and I'm just going to delete our old dictionary. So now let's set up our persistent storage, and persistent storage is pretty much just saving items to your phone. So we're going to do ns user defaults dot standard user defaults and set objects. Now we're going to do date and then a comma, for key, and let's just do to do date, and we actually need to put this in parentheses. Cool, so this should save our date to our NS user defaults. And it looks like we have a string is not convertible to bool. And I'm actually gonna, I know what this error is, but I'm gonna continue on. So I'm gonna copy paste this and change date to do item, and I'm gonna change the key. And if you're wondering what the error is, it's because I have .set bool, and it should be set object. But I'll fix it here in a little bit. So now we're going to cruise over to the other view controller under the view.load function. So when it loads, we're going to pull our user defaults. So we're going to say if nsuserdefaults.standardUserDefaults.object for key. And what key is it? Well, one of those ones that we just named. So let's first do date is not equal to nil, and brackets, and let's do date. And so for view.load, we're going to do if there is an object there and it's not equal to nil, meaning that there isn't anything in our standard defaults, then what we're going to do is we're going to pass this information into our date array. So we're going to do date equals NSUserDefaults standard user defaults dot object for key, and we're going to do date, and we're going to do as a string, and we have an error. Let's go ahead and check it out. See, string is not convertible to a string array. So we got to add our square brackets around it. Cool, that took care of that. And I'm going to copy and paste this. I'm going to change date to, let's see what it was. Oh, and you see I actually didn't change it for that one. So let's do to do item. So we have a different key. And copy to do date. Put it in the top one, which I had wrong. You guys probably caught on to that. And then I'm going to do to do item and to do item. So now it'll load those keys for me. Let's go ahead and give it a whirl. Oh, and guess what? It's that error that I knew of but haven't taken care of yet. So as you can see, if you're copy pasting a lot, you kind of lose track of what you're doing. So let's go back in here and change our bool to set object. And the same thing for the top. Cool. Let's run it. So now, if we add some gibberish and our keyboard isn't working, I'm going to do submit. There it is. And I'm actually going to go to device and do home. And now if I load it, it should still be there. Perfect. If we didn't have those user defaults, it wouldn't have done that. So now that we have all that up and working, let's go ahead and add that nifty delete button in when you slide to the left. So you're going to do function table view. And let's see if I can find it in here. No, I guess I should just type it out a little more. Table view and parentheses table view colon UI table view comma, and then we're going to do commit editing style. Editing style colon UI table view and cell editing style comma 4 row at index path colon ns index path. And we're going to close our parentheses and we're going to do curly brackets. Now, we have to do a few things in here. Let's do if editing style equals UI table view cell editing style dot delete, saying that if you push the delete button, then we're going to remove the row from our array. So we're going to do item, remove at index, and we're going to do index path dot row. So we're taking our index path at the which row we're deleting and removing it at that row in our array. And now we actually have to update our NS user defaults. So just like we did before, we're just going to do NS user defaults dot standard user defaults dot set object, the one that I messed up before, not set bool. And we're going to do our array and to do date, or it should be to do item, sorry. And I'm just going to go ahead and copy paste this. Change the array that we're going to update. We're going to do our date one this time. Oh, and there's my key mess up. To do item and to do date. Cool. Alright, so what we have to do is we have to control drag our table view over, and I'm just going to name it table. And the reason we're doing this is because now that we have removed stuff from the array, we actually need to refresh the table. So now let's do table, and then you do dot reload data. So now when you delete it, it won't stay there, and it'll actually remove itself, because once you've run that function of deleting, it'll reload the data. And something happened. Dun dun dun. So we got cell.detailed text. Let's see here. Oh, see, we have two dates. To do item. Once again, watch yourself when you're copy pasting. Everybody's human. So now we have the option to delete. So let's go ahead and add a whole bunch in. Hello. And some numbers. Submit. And freeze frame. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but my keyboard's not working again. And I'm actually going to show you how to fix this, but just hang in there. And dance. And let's do 11.2. Submit. Rock on. 11.13. Submit. So now we have all of them. You could delete some. And we'll go home. Open it back up. Still there. Looks like everything's working. So now I'm going to go up to the top here. And under File, I said Device earlier, you're going to do Reset Content and Settings. And Reset. Now, this whole thing will... I actually had the program running, so we didn't really have an error. Wait for it to restart. Build it again. And wait for it. I'm going to do that Add button. Click in there, and there is our keyboard. So in case that ever happens to you guys, that's how you can fix it. Awesome. So I hope you guys have enjoyed part 2 of the app with our NS user defaults, aka persistent storage. Let's keep on trucking until we're the masters of Swift programming.